Hey everyone, I was asked a question today, a question I've been asked before. What is the likelihood of a civil war in the United States? Okay, and this isn't necessarily conservatives rebelling or communists, socialists rebelling, just whatever group. A general question: what is the possibility of civil war? And the honest answer is zero. Okay, I know a lot of people like to fantasize about civil war and rebellions from time to time, but the fact is that the government controls everything. Okay, military, police, intelligence, they have absolute control. If you've got more than 10 people in the room and one of them farts, the government knows about it. Okay, so the government is watching everything all the time. There's no way that you could have enough people communicate and coordinate to have any type of a rebellion. I mean, it just can't happen in the current environment. So now the next question I was asked was, okay, exactly what would it take? Okay, well, theoretically, what it would take would be for the United States and China to have a nuclear war. Okay, that's quite honestly, that's what it would take. I'm kind of discounting the Russians because I think that their abilities are overstated. Okay, but that's what it would take. It would take for the United States and for China to enter into a nuclear war. Okay. Because it has to be nuclear, quite honestly, because a conventional war would not do enough damage to the government institutions fast enough to make a difference. Okay, so only a nuclear war where they're targeting like key infrastructure, particularly command and control, right? Would that create an opportunity for partisan groups, be they right-leaning or left-leaning or whatever, to organize and actually have some type of a rebellion. Okay, and it would probably have to. This war would end up being a worldwide war. All governments essentially would have to knock themselves out and get out of the way for the people to have their uprisings, and then basically what you would do is you would go back to the classic, socialists, fighting the capitalists or the freedom-loving people. But the government would have to completely get out of the way for that to happen. Okay, that can never, ever, ever happen while you have a government or governments around the world that are as have absolute power the way that they have now. Now, the obvious question is, well, wait a second. You're talking if there's going to be like a worldwide nuclear war, I mean, who's going to benefit from that, right? If everybody's being radiated, well, I believe that nuclear wars, to some extent, yes, there would be catastrophic. Millions, if not billions, of people would die, but still billions of people would still be alive. Okay, and the first group of people would die from the radiation bombing. Okay, then the next group of people would die from the starvation. Okay, that would probably kill. The starvation would probably kill a lot more people than the nuclear bombs themselves, because after a nuclear war, basically there would basically be no way to grow food on the industrial level that is required to feed the billions of people that would be left, right? Because there would still be a few billion people. There won't be 8 billion people. There would probably be at least 2, 3, 4, 5 billion people left around the world. So you can't feed that many people without industrialized food production. The industrialized food production would stop. Okay, and that would, because modern day farming, you can't farm without diesel. Okay, that's the reality of it. I've got tractors. I do hobby farming. I'm telling you guys, you cannot grow food, all right, without diesel. the equipment that we have to grow the food, you know, even if you got horses and cows, and oxen, you can't just easily hook up farming equipment that's meant for tractors to farm animals and, you know, and have them pull it. I mean, you know, the equipment has to be set up in such a way. And the other thing is, like, you probably wouldn't be able to get farm animals quickly enough. And also when it comes to farming, and again, this is something that I know, it is very time-based. You have to plan at the right time in the spring. The problem with the spring is that there's a lot of rain in the spring, right? That's why people plant in the spring. What that means is that in order to actually plow, you need dry ground. So what that does is there's a very small window of days that are available in the spring where the ground is actually suitable for plowing. Okay, so if you don't plow at the right time, you're not going to get food. Okay, so as I was saying, the first batch of people would die from the radiation. Most of the people would actually die from the starvation that follows, and then who's ever left, okay, would start fighting over power. Okay, and then they would probably break up into the communists versus freedom-loving people, and that's when you would actually see the war that a lot of people tend to kind of fantasize about. Okay, but at that point you might say, well, you know, if so many people are dead, if my kids are dead, well, here's the thing: wars, real wars, tend to be very fatal for children. Okay, don't look at like World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, where we were all comfortable back here, right? Afghanistan War, we're all comfortable back here while the war was happening something else. Okay, when a war is actually happening on your land, the children are the first to die. Okay, the children and the old people. Okay, so if you're not comfortable with the idea of your children dying, you probably don't belong in the business of war. Okay, I mean that's the reality. Okay, that is the nature of especially civil wars. Civil wars are especially brutal. Okay, with regular wars, you have the soldiers on one side trying to kill the soldiers on the other side. Okay, with a civil war, the way it works is if we're on opposing sides, I'm trying to kill your kids and you're trying to kill my kids, right? Because you're trying to knock out the next generation. In a civil war, you know, each side doesn't see the other side as an enemy combatant. Each side sees the other side as traitors, who basically they feel that need to be exterminated. Okay, not just them exterminated, but their entire line, you know, needs to be exterminated. So that is a true civil war. Okay, so answer to the question that comes up from time to time. I guess what would it take to actually have a civil war? The catalyst would have to be a worldwide nuclear war, mostly between the United States and China, that further expands. That then leads to, because that would knock out the government institutions. Then afterwards, basically, that would also knock out the industrialized food production institutions, which would further collapse society. And then who's ever left, probably, let's say 1 billion people left around the world, those people start fighting over whatever resources are left. However, it would be an entirely different world at that point because there's so much fewer people. There's a good chance that there would actually be a lot less fighting, because the people that want to be socialists, well, they go over to one side of the country. The people that want to be, capitalists, they go over to the other side of the country, and the two of them never have to talk to each other. So they might actually not be a need for the left and right to actually fight themselves, because there would just be so much space in between them. Okay, so that they don't actually have to come into contact with each other. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was mostly meant to be entertaining. Drop some comments below, let me know what you think, and I will talk to you all soon.